So, I watch a lot of YouTube, and it's a great start to a video. I watch a lot of YouTube, and there is always a part of me that wants to know why someone started that YouTube. Always. Because I want to know, like, did you start it just like for fun one day? Did you have a good reason? And sometimes you don't get those answers until they're like years and years and years into their profile and everything. So I kind of wanted to put that out there right now. Like, there's a reason I'm doing this. And there are actually a couple of people are the reason I'm doing this. First off, I'm only going to call people by like their first initial for their privacy. Nobody really knows I'm doing this. Like, it's kind of a secret right now. It'll be very out in the open soon, but like, it's kind of a secret as of recording this. And there are a couple of big things with this. One, I have a cousin. We'll call her M. She grew up without a ton of like super girly stuff in play. So she always texts me to talk to me about how like I would style her child or how I would style her outfits and things like that. And I realize like out there in the world, there's probably more and more people like her. And I wanted to give an avenue for those people. Additionally, there is a woman I was interacting with pretty regularly. Her name is A. This is a little hard to do because I just want to say their names. She actually is the person who started this whole thing. Like, she was the first one to look at me and be like, why aren't you making this into a YouTube thing? So many people would love to know. And I can't believe, like, it took her 6 months to kind of, like, wear me down to get to this point. And so it was, all of this started because I wore a brooch on a knit cheap hat. And she loved the idea so much that she started, like, talking to me about all of the pieces I was wearing every time I came in and saw her boss. And so, which was really cool and insane. So, like, for months and months on end, every week I'd talk to this woman about how I styled this or I styled that, and I was wearing vintage this and vintage that, and this is why I was doing it. And she was the one that really, like, got me to a point where I was like, I need to start recording some of this. And then we have to give thanks to two people. There is a woman named Jay. I've referenced her. Like, I've already done some recordings and I've already referenced her a lot. She taught me to sew. She was the one, anytime there was a, like, issue with my machine, I could FaceTime her. And she'd be like, yes, this thing. And that was over a year ago. And she was, like, she's one of the first people that ever got me into, like, individualizing her, like, my fashion at all. Not like just in a be yourself kind of way, but in a make your own stuff to make it as individualized as possible kind of way. And that made a huge, huge difference in how I viewed not only clothing that I was buying, but clothing that I now make, clothing that I style, clothing I make and style for my child. It made an insurmountable difference. And I cannot thank her enough because she really answered every dumb question I had because I had a lot of them. Everybody learning has a lot of like what seemed like dumb questions at the time. And there's one more person to thank. We'll call her R. She was not only like the best translator anybody could ask for because my friend Jay is like a professional. So she would say things that are like professional level. And I'd be sitting there like, uh-huh. And my friend R was just absolutely chef's kiss beautiful at being like, so this is what it actually means? And like giving me the human translation, not just the professional translation. And not only that, not only was she like a phenomenal like professional to everyday person translator, she is that kind of friend that you can tell her you're doing anything and she's like, yeah, that's amazing. I think you should do that. The first time I told her I was genuinely thinking about starting this channel, she was like, the first minute you do is the minute I'll subscribe. And I was like, okay. And I kind of thought that she was just being like a super supportive friend, which is amazing. And then I told her I was genuinely going to make this and it was real. It was going to happen. And sure enough, she was like, well, send me the link so that I can subscribe. And I cannot thank these all happen to be women, but I cannot thank these women enough because without like this very, very strategic combination of people and my own like want to change the world, I would never have done this. The last two women, Jay and R, like, I see you guys all the time. You know how I feel about this. You know how special I feel to you guys. And I cannot thank you enough, because I wouldn't be doing this at all. This room would still be, without the two of you, this room would still be like a workroom that I hated and I was miserable in every day of the week. And you both coming to me and teaching me various tricks and tips, like my friend Jay taught me to sew and how to read patterns and how to drape on a mannequin and the whole thing. My friend R was not only incredibly supportive, but she was like, here, let me sit down and take hours of my time showing you how to do different things, like try to crochet. Let's learn to knit together. You name it. You want to go, like, she was one of those friends, like, you want to go thrifting? And then she would tell you honestly, she'd like, I don't think you can take that in as much as you think you can. Like, but she's so kind about it. And I would never, like, I've never wanted for any difference in my friends. Like, these are, like, the two friends you could do anything with and they're just so amazing for that reason. And they're so supportive, and they're just such beautiful, beautiful women. So I want to especially say thank you to those two women, because as we're talking right now, my phone is lighting up because you both have messaged me in the last, like, what is this going? 7 minutes? 7 minutes. You both have messaged me because we're all in each other's business that much. And then for the two women I mentioned at the beginning, M and A, I don't know why this hasn't happened before now. I wish I had listened to you guys years ago. Like a year ago now. A started this a year ago, like pressuring me and being like, I think you should start a YouTube channel. That was almost a year ago, which is insane. And like, you've been in my life for forever now, it feels like, even though we're not born cousins. And I cannot imagine doing this without like your knowledge and support, because I do know, like, M doesn't know this is happening right now. Like, I didn't tell her. She happens to visit in a couple weeks, and I'm gonna tell her then. But she is part of why I wanted to do this. She was one of those women that was like, I don't know how to style myself, and I don't know how to style my child. Like, help. And I've loved doing that with her, and it's been such a great thing. Oh my God, if I cry during this is gonna be the end of the world. Lastly, there is some like honorific that comes to like my spouse. He is behind the scenes doing everything. He has lifted many a bolts of fabric. He's done many trips to Joann's and Michael's and my local thrift shop and I really appreciate starting this up with him. And if you are one of those lucky people who have like interacted with me in the last couple of weeks and are like, oh my God, I love your style. How did you learn how to do that? How do you do that? And you allowed me to do that like ridiculous 2-minute pitch of like, I'm starting a YouTube channel about this. And you guys took it with pride and information. Like, thank you so much, because I'm sure it seems ridiculous. It sounds insane. But it's so good, because everybody I've said that to has had such a positive, happy reaction, and it makes me like really feel good about it. My last like big reason for doing this is I no longer want to live in a world where we do Shein influencer hauls. I don't even necessarily want to live in a world where we do like thrift influencer hauls. My dog is super into this whole thing. She's so rude. Okay. Nope. She waited till I started back up. But I don't want to live in a world with influencer hauls like that anymore. I want us to live a very like 1940s type, like we're gonna make do with our clothes that we have as long as they work. And we're gonna reintroduce a new style to them. We're gonna change them. We're gonna change this skirt into pants. We're gonna take this shirt and turn it into a rag. We're gonna take old bed sheets and make them into shirts. Like, that's the world I want to live in. I don't want to live in the world anymore where we just see millions of pounds of things being dumped into these massive landfills that we'll never see again, and the shirt's less than like 2 years old, but it's out of fashion, so we toss it. Like, I don't want to see that anymore. And I've always been a big believer in like, if you want to change, you need to be part of that change. And I can say, like, as a former shopaholic or whatever you want to call it, I did a lot of shopping. I did a ridiculous amount of shopping, and like To the point when I was working at a job, I was working in a downtown area, and across the street was a mall. And I'll never forget this, because looking back, this is just insane. I would go to work. I would do my X amount of hours at work before I had lunch. At lunchtime, I would leave and then go across the street and start shopping at one of the big box stores across the street. And I wasn't like necessarily taking time to eat my lunch any more than like getting a smoothie and like continuing to walk across the street. And I essentially, looking back at it, I was spending like the first few hours that I was working just paying for that trip to go across the street. And I would go through my clothes every 6-8 months and be able to donate well over half of my closet. And then I would just start it back up again. And although I'm still going through my closet on the regular basis to like get rid of things I'm not using and truly not using versus like I thought it was stylish and then it wasn't anymore, so I got rid of it. I was that person. I was working to do Shein hauls because I thought that that's what was going to make me happy and I thought that's what I wanted. And looking back, I was like, now looking at it, I'm like, girl, you had no clue. No idea that that was going to like change everything for you. The realization came when I was still living on my own. I moved in with my partner and my spouse. He was like, hey, no one shops as much as you. And he grew up in a very different kind of lifestyle. So he was like, hey, I have never met anybody who shops like you do. This is kind of insane. And he sat down with me and we were looking at my credit card debt together. And he was like, this is bananas. Like, you can make choices, but I don't know that this is a good choice. And I was essentially like, it's my credit card. It's fine. But now looking at that, what is absolutely insane to me is like, I still have that credit card and it's been years. It's been 6 years. And in 6 years, I have paid off that card 3 times because I just kept running it back up with more shopping. And I woke up one day after lots of therapy for other things, and including this, but lots of therapy, and I was like, it's not going to make me happy. How am I going to get to a happy point? Because this isn't it. And that's when I realized I wanted to live a lot slower. I wanted to care a lot more about the environment and my wardrobe as far as like reusing it for years and years and years. And that was a big shift, and that made a big difference in my belief system, like almost instantaneously. I stopped shopping new when that happened almost immediately. Within a year of that realization, because it still takes time, right? This is not an immediate process for a lot of people. You still need to buy clothes. Sometimes you still need to buy new clothes. But I was looking at it and I was like, I'm on Amazon, and for $30, I'm going to order this black tank top. And then I would go to the thrift shops that are near me and I'd be like, that same damn near the same black tank top, $5 because it was used in secondhand and it still had its original tags on it. And I was just like, what am I doing? So within a year, I've cut completely all of my Amazon shopping, which is a big deal for a lot of people. I know it's hard for a lot of people. It's easy. And I do want to say, if you're one of those people who cannot, for like an ability reason, like it's hard for you to get to a thrift store because of a disability you have, then keep shopping on Amazon. You're doing great. You're doing the best you can. And I think that that's fine. If you are a person like me who is just doing it to kind of like have something to do on their phone, make some different choices. And that's what I really wanted to encourage people to do. And that's part of why we're here now, is I want people to make their own choices and not only make a wardrobe that is super unique to them, but also do it with, paper thin, fabric that no one's going to touch. We're going to go through a bunch of this for remnant fabric, but like, why not have a personalized skirt out of fabric that you're going to love? Like, let me show you how to make a dress out of an old quilt and get a machine quilt that can do both. Why not? Why aren't we choosing to live that way? It wasn't very many generations ago that was the default. Why are we choosing to live in this mess of a situation where clothes are made of plastic and it's too dang hot to wear them all the time? Why are we choosing to live in a environment where you just watch someone else buy a ton of clothes and then they put it on the same channel, right? On the same platform. And you're just watching it on TikTok and YouTube and being like, oh my gosh, I absolutely need 7 of these dresses because influencer ABC told me that they're beautiful and perfect. I don't want to live like that anymore. And I want to encourage more and more people to not live like that. So I want to walk you through, this is how my sewing machine works. This is how you get a sewing machine. This is how we talk about it. This is how we get fabric from the quilt shop. I may be able to help make costumes for you guys. I might be able to help cut your waist down because maybe you have a blanket like this and you're just like, oh, I'm just going to toss it. I don't use it anymore. But maybe you could. Maybe you could use the fabric and make a dress, a shirt, shorts, pants. Instead of tossing your stuff straight to a donation pile, which I will say, donating is not necessarily a bad thing. However, when you donate to a thrift shop specifically, I believe the percentage is only like 30% of clothing donated to a thrift shop is ever used. 30%. That's not a lot. That means there's an extra 70 or so percent floating around out there just in garbages and landfills. Why are we allowing ourselves to live like that? And it's a hard shift. I had to make a hard shift with it too. But I realized that's not what I wanted. I didn't want to be sitting there and judging other people and be like, why are you letting 70% of your stuff just go into a landfill? No, I wanted to be like, hey, we collectively are doing this. Let's collectively make a different plan. Let's collectively use the things that are out there in the world that people aren't going to buy and aren't going to use, and let's try to do more with it. That's how we've ended up here. That's why this channel's here. So I hope that you follow along with this very rough and hopefully less of a hot mess as we go on intro and situation that we're going to go on with and like try to tackle together. Let's try to tackle the things like landfill, but let's do it in a way that actually makes sense for us. Let's make curtains out of old bed sheets if we like the curtain pattern. Let's make pillowcases. Let's make bandanas and bows and dresses and t-shirts because that's where we're at. There are millions and millions of pounds of fabric out there. Let's use what we can and let's get somewhere with it. That's why I called the channel Sew, Salvage, Save. I'm going to teach you to sew, we're going to salvage what we have in our closets, and we're going to try to save the planet in the long run. And frankly, like, if you're going to save the planet, more often than not, you can also save a little bit of money with it. So let's do all of it. Let's go sew, salvage, save.